You ever been stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic? You look up at that big open sky and just wish you could fly over it all? Yeah, of course you have. We all have. Well, that sci-fi fantasy, it's actually getting a lot closer to reality than you might think.
And this is where something called urban air mobility, or UAM, comes in. It's exactly what it sounds like, a potential fix for our totally gridlocked streets. The big idea is to start using the airspace right above our cities to move people and, cargo around. We're talking about a whole new system of electric-powered vehicles that can take off and land vertically. Basically, flying taxis.
But, there's a huge question mark between the traffic jams we're in today and those wide-open skies of tomorrow. To make this happen, we have to answer some really tough, real-world questions. What's it going to take to build the machines, the infrastructure, and, maybe most importantly, earn the public's trust? Okay, let's dive in and see what the data really says. To figure this all out, we're going to dig into a major market study that NASA actually commissioned. So here's our flight plan. First, we'll explore the big dream of UAM. Then, we'll map out where it might actually work. After that, we'll tackle the three biggest hurdles: the machine, the money, and the people. We'll look at the price of a ticket, and finally, we'll see what happens when the sci-fi dream meets some cold, hard data.
All right, first up, what exactly are we talking about when we say urban air mobility? Because let me tell you, it's a vision that is so much bigger than just your own personal flying car. So, the official goal is to create a safe and efficient system for air travel right inside a city. And the promise is huge. I mean, imagine clearing up our roads, slashing travel times, and taking some of the pressure off our existing public transport. The vision is to literally change how we live and move around.
And the potential uses go way beyond what you might think. Of course, there's the airport shuttle and the air taxi service that we all picture, but the study also highlights these incredibly important roles in emergency services, like air ambulances, or even for things like package delivery and tourism. It's just a much, much broader vision than most of us realize.
Okay, so if that's the dream, where on earth would it actually make sense to launch this thing first? Because not all cities are created equal when it comes to flying taxis.
The study used this really smart three-step process to figure it out. First, they filtered for big, dense cities with over 1 million people. Makes sense. Then, they analyzed congestion to pinpoint the cities with the absolute worst traffic, because that's where people would be desperate for a solution. And finally, they did a feasibility check, looking at practical stuff like weather, infrastructure, and all the local rules.
And the results are pretty fascinating. You see some of the usual suspects here. Los Angeles, no surprise, pops up because of its legendary traffic. Dallas makes the list for more practical reasons like good weather. And then you have New York, which already has a culture of helicopter travel, so you know the demand is there. Each city has its own unique recipe for being a prime candidate.
So we have an idea of where these things could fly, but actually getting them off the ground means we have to overcome 3 massive challenges. Let's break them down: the machine, the money, and the people.
First, the machine itself. The tech still has some pretty big hurdles to clear. Battery technology is a huge one. Right now, the range is really limited. Weather is another biggie. You just can't fly these things in a bad thunderstorm. Then there's noise. Nobody wants a loud drone buzzing over their house all day. And, oh yeah, we need a whole new air traffic control system to manage thousands of these things flying around.
Next up, the money. And the economic realities here are, well, they're daunting. For one, the ticket price, at least at first, is going to be high. We also have to build an entire network of vertiports, places for them to take off and land. And remember, they're competing with Uber and eventually self-driving cars on the ground. Finally, getting these new types of aircraft certified by regulators is a super long and very, very expensive process.
But maybe the biggest hurdle of all is us, the people. There's this quote in the report that just nails it. It says, "Passengers have strong concerns about safety and want security screening." It just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how amazing the technology is if people are too scared to actually get inside one. Public trust is the absolute make-or-break factor here.
And the data really backs this up. Just look, over half the people surveyed said they were willing to fly, as long as there's a pilot on board. But watch what happens when you take that pilot out of the vehicle. The number of people willing to fly just plummets. It's a huge drop. The key takeaway here is that getting the public to accept full automation is a massive, massive challenge.
Which, of course, brings us to the question that everybody wants to know. Okay, sounds cool, but what's this actually going to cost me? Let's talk about the price of a ticket.
So how much extra are people willing to pay to save time? The study actually put a number on it. And the answer, on average, is 85 cents. 85 cents extra for each mile they travel by air instead of by ground. Now, I want you to keep that number in your head because it's about to become really, really important.
Okay, now let's compare that 85 cents to how much it actually costs to fly these things. And here it is. This is the core problem. Even the cheapest vehicle type is projected to cost somewhere between $3 and $5 per passenger per mile just to operate. So you see it, right? There's a massive gap, a canyon really, between the cost to run the service and what people are actually willing to pay. Closing that gap is the central economic challenge for this whole industry. So, we've seen the incredible potential, but we've also seen some really steep challenges. So for this last section, let's see what happens when we bring this high-flowing dream back down to Earth.
This right here is the ultimate reality check. On the left, in a perfect world with no constraints, the model for New York City estimates a potential market of over 1.4 million daily trips. That is a huge market. But now look at the right. Once you factor in just one real-world constraint, just one, the weather, that number plummets to only 8,000. That is a drop of over 99%. It's just a stunning reminder of how fast reality can shrink a blue sky dream.
So after all of this analysis, after looking at the tech, the money, the people, what's the single biggest takeaway? What is the one barrier we have to solve to make flying taxis a real part of our lives?
And the answer might actually surprise you. The study's main takeaway is that the biggest challenge isn't building the machine. We're actually getting pretty good at that part. The real work, the hard part, is preparing the world for the machine. It's about updating our regulations, redesigning our cities, and maybe most of all, changing our own ideas about safety and trust. That's the real frontier for the future of flight.